And good morning, Math Masters. Welcome to Eureka Math in the morning, or afternoon, or whatever time it is you're watching this. Now we're going to lesson 13 problem set. That's page 155. If you don't have this at home, you can follow along by drawing the number lines. Okay, so just draw your number line right here. And unlike 2 days ago, we're starting with 1, 1.5, and 2 as our benchmark fractions. So 1, 1.5, 2. What we need to figure out is where to place these fractions, all right? So we have 1, 1.5, 2. Our first fraction is 4/3. So think about yesterday, how we figured out how to do take an improper fraction and turn it into a mixed number. I'm going to get out another piece of paper just to go over this a little bit. So we have 4/3. We need to figure out what the heck 4/3 is. So let's go to 4/3. And remember how to figure out if this is what kind of mixed number this would be, 4/3. So let's think about this. We would take 4 and we divide it by 3 because, believe it or not, our fractions are just division. We'll talk about that later. So I can only fit in 1 3 into 4. Subtract, and we have a remainder of 1. Now the quotient, or the answer, is my whole number. The remainder is my numerator. And the denominator does not change. So 4/3 is equivalent to 1 1/3. Okay, we have the improper fraction. Remember, well, I never, and the mixed up, and the mixed up number, as it was called in the video yesterday. So let's figure out where would we put 1 and 1/3. Well, I know a third is less than a half. You'd rather have half of the brownie pan than a third of it. So it's going to go right here. Let's look at our next fraction, 11/6. Okay, 11/6. And when we think about 11/6, maybe we could kind of do a little review and go to the tape diagram. So remember, an improper fraction is always greater than 1. So let's break these into 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, and 6. So this represents one whole, right? 1. And let's color in 11 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 1. Our 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Do we have 2 wholes? No. We have 1 and 6/7. Excuse me. 1 and 5/6, right? 1 whole and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 6. So we'd have 1 plus 5/6, which would equal 1 and 5/6. Let's do the shortcut, where we just take 11, divide it by 6. 6 goes into 11 one time. We subtract. 11 minus 6 is 5. The quotient is our whole, 1. The remainder is our numerator. And the denominator stays the same. So we have 1 and 5/6. So 1 and 5/6, is that greater than 1.5? Yeah, it's nearly 2 wholes, isn't it? When we look at this, our tape diagrams. So we would go back to our number line here, and we would put this pretty close to 1. You can say 1 and 5/6. Now the last one looks pretty tricky. It's 17/12. Where are we going to put 17/12? Okay. Oops, excuse me. Let's try to figure that one out. Together. All right, so we'll say 17/12. I'm going to take 17 and divide it by 12. 12 goes into 17 one time. Time to subtract. 17 minus 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 is 5. So we can see that the quotient, or the answer, is the whole number. The remainder is the numerator, and the denominator doesn't say the same. But now we're left with this, 1 and 5/12. Is that greater than 1.5 or less than 1.5? Let's think about that. Halfway to 12 is 6, so would this be less than a half? It certainly would. Let's go back to our chart, our number line here. So we can see that it's less than 1 and 1/2, and I'm going to go ahead and put 1 and 5/12, because it's just a little bit less than 1/2. Now, I'm going to use the number line above for problem 2. It says, use the number line in problem 1 to compare the fractions by writing greater than, less than, or equal to on the line. So we had 1 and 5/6 and 1 and 5/12. So we can see that the 1 and 5/6 is much larger than 1 and 5/12. Not much, but larger nonetheless. Then we had 1 and 1/3 and 1 and 5/12. Well, the 5/12 was pretty close to the 1/2, right? Because 5 is almost close to 6/12, so it's greater. 1 and 5/12. Okay, it says place the following fractions on the number line given. So once again we have 1, 1.5, and 2. So let's take a look at what fractions we're going to be placing on here. Our first one is 11/8. So let's go ahead and turn that improper fraction into a mixed up number. So 8 into 11, one time. Then we subtract and we get a 3. So 1 is our whole number. Our numerator is the remainder, 3. And our denominator, our divisor, remains the same, 1 and 3/8. Where would that fit in? Is 1 and 3/8 greater than 1.5 or less than 1.5? Think about 3/8. What if we were to change 1 and 1/2 to 8s? It would look like this. We'd multiply by 2, so it would be 1. We'd multiply by 4. 2 times 4 is 8. And 1 times 4 is 4. So we'd have 1 and 4/8. So right now I'm looking at 1 and 3/8, so that's going to be a little bit less. And I'll put it down here because there's room, 1 and 3/8. Our next number is 6/7. I'm trying to read that correctly. It's either 4/7 or 6/7. My goodness, get a magnifying glass to read these. 4/7, or 7/4, excuse me. Let's look at 7/4. And let's look at it as a tape diagram. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4 symbolizes 1. So we have 7/4. And remember this? 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, 5/4, 6/4, 7/4. So we have one whole, right? Plus 3/4. So it's 1 and 3/4. Let's head on back to our number line now that we know what 7/4 is. And so we can see these little marks here. Halfway between 1 and 1.5 would be what? 1 and 1/4. So that'd be 1 and 2/4. This would be 1 and 3/4 right here. And that's where we're going to put our 7/4 is 1 and 3/4. So we're going to put it right there. All right. And our last one is 15/12. I don't know what this one's going to be. Let's find out. And we'll take 15 and divide it by 12 to figure out what 15/12 the improper fraction is. So I know 12 goes into 15 one time. Put my 1 up there and subtract. I have a 3. Done, right? So 1 is my whole number. 3 is my numerator, and 12 is my denominator. So we have 1 and 3/12. Now I can simplify that. How would I simplify this? I could divide them each by 3, right? I'm going to leave my 1 alone, and I'll take 3/12 and divide them. Remember we were doing this before we left? 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 12 divided by 3 is 4. So 3/12 is equivalent to 1/4. So I could say that this is 1 and 1/4. And that makes it pretty easy to put in my number line. In fact, I've already put it there, 1 and 1/4 right there. And let's go ahead and cross out number 4 and get over to number 5. Okay? It says compare the fractions given by writing greater than, less than on the lines. Offer a brief explanation. We're not going to offer that brief explanation. We're just going to go right ahead and do it. But think about it. Don't just like automatically put greater than, less than. Think about what you got going here, okay? So in our first one we have 3/8 compared to 7/12. Well, think about half of 8 is 4, so 3/8 would be less than 4/8, right? Half of 12 is 6, so 7/12 would be greater than 6/12, so of course 7/12 would be greater than 3/8. Let's overhit it over here. 5 twelfths. That's not even halfway to 12. It's only 5 out of 12. And this is 7/8, and that's almost 1 whole. So the 7/8 would be greater. We'll go over here. We have 8 6 and 11 twelfths. Right away, we know that this is an improper fraction. It's greater than a proper fraction. It's greater than 1. So right away, we can do that. 1/3 and 5 twelfths. Well, this one's kind of difficult. Let's multiply the 1/3 to get it to a 12th. So 3 times 4 is 12, and 1 times 4 is 4. So it's 4 twelfths or 5 twelfths. We're going to go with the 5 twelfths. Let's go down here to 7/5 and 11/10. Once again, that's kind of, I don't know, what's going to be greater. Let's make our 7/5 into tenths, okay? How would we do that? Remember we were working on this, 7/5 into a tenth. Remember we were doing this right before we left? So 5 times 2 is 10, and 7 times 2, remember we have to multiply by the same digit. 5 times 2 is 10, now we're in tenths, and 7 times 2 is 14ths. So 14, so we have 14 tenths, which is greater than 12 tenths. 11 tenths, excuse me. Over here we have 6 fourths and 7/8. 5 fourths and 7/8. Well, we know right away this is an improper fraction. It's greater than 1. This is a proper fraction. It's less than 1. So we know that's that. 13 twelfths and 9 tenths. Once again, improper fraction greater than 1. Proper fraction less than 1. So any alligator eats the larger one. Over here, 6/8 and 5 fourths. Well, you might be thinking, well, these are 8, so it's got to be bigger. But no, this is a proper fraction. This is an improper fraction. The improper fraction is greater than 1. 5 fourths. Let's go down here to 8 twelfths and 8 fourths. Well, this is quite an improper fraction, and this is a proper fraction. So what's going to be greater? The improper fraction. And finally, we go to 7/5 and 16 tenths, okay? Let's turn our 7/5 into tenths, because I'm not sure about this one. So we say 7/5. We're trying to get to tenths, so I'm going to multiply by 2. 5 times 2 is 10, 7 times 2 is 14. So I have 14 tenths here and 16 tenths there. Well, we're going to eat the 16 tenths. And that is our Eureka math lesson for the day. But before you go, let's just do a quick review. Well, I wanted to do a quick review, but I don't think I have my review sheet available. So let's just call it a day for now. This will get better, boys and girls, as I get used to my new surroundings here. All right, have a great day.